Hello, and you are back in the Velvet Room with Jokerthefool and Lee's Alternate Reality. I've got a special guest with me, and today we'll be discussing the popularity of Reacher, abortion as an election issue, and science fiction. So we're going to get right into this, and we're going to talk about Reacher. This is a show on Amazon. It's based on a series of novels by Lee Child, and it's been a smash hit with the fans. It's been really popular, and I wanted to talk about this with you as why this show has the hold over the general population when a lot of other things don't. So, from my understanding, this is just a good action series with, masculine men, feminine women, and storylines that are just about action, having, good dramatic fun rather than pushing politics and narratives onto people. And you've looked into this a little bit more than I have, I think, because I haven't watched anything of it. I've just heard of the show getting big and it doing numbers in terms of the minutes watched on streaming and such. So I wanted to see if you've looked into it, and what about Reacher appeals to you?
Thank you, Ben, number one, for having me on your show. Yes, I am Lee, and that was a great question. Okay, so I did try to start to watch Reacher last night, and honestly, I understand the background of the character. He's egotistical. He knows everything. He's well built and handsome. And as a woman, and I was once in acting. I went to the actor's studio in New York City. So to watch actors portray certain characters, whether they be out of a book, fictional, non-fictional, or what I'm saying. Honestly, as a woman, I got bored. I really did. I'm sorry, but it might be a smash hit. I mean, I could see women watching it for him and learning things from him, but I actually got bored.
Okay, so from what I guess I understand, this is something that's more appealing to the male demographic, as it's more of a power fantasy. You can get into it like that. Not so much for women.
Yes.
So if you like Alan Richardson, well, that's his name. If you find him to be attractive, then you might want to watch through that. I don't think he's everyone's cup of tea, because someone will look at that and say, well, he's on steroids. That's way too big. That's unattractive. Some will disagree.
But that's his character.
Yeah.
Reacher has an ego, because as I watched some of it, I realized that he's like a know-it-all, but it's not like a snobby know-it-all. He's kind of egotistical, and it does kind of just drag the character a little bit. Now, I didn't see the one with Tom Cruise, or was it Tom Cruise? Oh my gosh, Jack Reacher, right? Was that Tom Cruise?
That might have been different, but we're just talking about the Amazon show, and like
Just the Amazon show.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just why it's popular, why it's doing well, and like I said, this just seems to be it knows what it is. It's staying in its lane. It's well produced, and it doesn't seem to be overtly pushing politics, one way or another. But with Hollywood,
Oh, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed there 100%. I do agree with that.
Yeah. So I think, that's basically all I had to say about it. And I just wanted your perspective on it, which you gave me. And I appreciate that a lot. So I think we're good on that topic. And we're going to move on into the next one, which is definitely a bit of a heavier topic. And we're going to talk about abortion. So, of course, abortion's been widely talked about for generations and such. You've had Roe v. Wade that was going on in the 70s, so it's always been this political issue. It's always been in the political realm. More recently with, I think it was Dobbs, that case that overturned Roe v. Wade and gave abortion as an issue back to the states. But now abortion's being pushed again in this news cycle during this election cycle, as saying that if Trump gets elected, if he gets back into office, one of the things he'll do is roll back abortion rights, and this will be extremely oppressive to women, because abortions, you can't function in society as a woman unless you have unfettered access to abortion, which I personally don't, disagree with. I disagree with it. I find abortion to be a very morally conflicting thing for me, because I think the act of performing an abortion is inherently immoral, but I also think as long as both parties are consenting, the woman getting the abortion and the abortionist are both doing it voluntarily, then you can't prevent them from doing those sorts of things. The only person who can't consent is the unborn child, but they have no means to defend themselves. And like I said, the other two parties, the ones who are most pertinent, in this case the abortionist and the woman seeking the abortion, are both consenting to it and want it to happen. So I just want your opinions on abortion in general, if you're willing to give them, and two, do you think using abortion as an election issue, is that going to help or hurt the Democrats, or help and hurt Trump? So that's basically what I am asking you.
Okay, those are great questions. Being 55 years old, and I know I'm much older than you, in my 20s, and I'm going to be completely honest, and I've never told anyone this before, okay? I did have an abortion. It went wrong. I hemorrhaged, so I don't know if part of the fetus was left in. I don't know exactly what happened, but it was a very horrible experience. I was 18 years old. I didn't want to have a child with the person I was with. So yes, was it my choice? Yes. I am also a very strong Christian, and that is something that I've carried with me for a very long time, but I know I've been forgiven for it. Do I feel like it's murder? Because as you said, there's no consent from that unborn child, which is correct. Okay, and there should be. There should be, and you can't go in there and say, "Hey, do you want to be?" I hate using this term, but it's the reality of the things. Do you want to be sucked out, or do you want to live? You know what I mean? It's horrible. But I'm talking to you extremely frank in regards that I want people to understand the truth. So I am not pro-abortion at all because of the experience I went through personally. I know a lot of other women did as well. I probably would have lost the baby anyway due to the fact that I found out I was Rh negative. So I probably would have aborted my own fetus at one point in time anyway, because back then we didn't have the shots. You have to have special shots when you're an Rh negative blood person. Produce antigens, not antibodies, and it would usually attack the fetus. And I did have 2 miscarriages afterwards, when I was married. And yeah, I mean, I don't believe that abortion rights it's a very touchy subject, and the election, a lot of people are going in opposite directions as far as their freedoms are concerned, and I'm going to try to make this as general as possible. Like changing your sex, transgender, then getting pregnant, and that kind of stuff. I know it's not a topic you want to get into, but men are doing it. And what is going to happen to that child? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And as far as election goes, it's going to hurt either way. I mean, it'll hurt the Democrats. It'll hurt the Republicans. But I don't want to have abortion. I would like the abortion rights to be abolished. But that's me right now at this point in time because of my belief system. But, I can't even begin to tell you. I feel like we're just going backwards. Sure. Can we have abortion rights because, a 16-year-old gets pregnant and she can't have the baby? Well, you know what? I was adopted. Okay. And back in 1968, abortions weren't even thought of. My biological mother went to a like for an example, what is a nun? Where do nuns live? I forget what it is. It's not a monastery.
A convent.
A convent. Thank you. My biological mother went to a convent, and for 9 months. And when I was born, she took off. She was 20 years old, and I was adopted within 6 days. It was kind of weird. My adoption was a little screwed up. So, but point being is that we don't have that choice anymore to go to somewhere. Like I said, if a 16-year-old gets pregnant, her choice is to go get the day after pill or an abortion. What happened to convents where you could, if you wanted to have the baby and then give it up for adoption? There's a lot of people that can't have children.
Yeah.
So why not have children and adopt?
Yeah.
But I mean,
yeah.
If we want to get down and dirty for a second with politics, it all has to do with depopulation.
Oh yeah, yeah, certainly. There is a massive depopulation movement going on. This is part of why abortion is pushed onto the population as heavily as it is. And you and I both understand that 16-year-old girl that walks into Planned Parenthood, she's presented with mifepristone, D&E abortion, whatever method, depending on how far along she is in the pregnancy, not because they genuinely care about her, it's because they want to make money off of her. There is a whole abortion industry that exists. And the plan is not the plan, but the whole thing is when you have an industry, you're trying to make as much money off of people as possible. And the whole thing is that what you're getting at with your story, and you share a lot of very personal stuff, and I appreciate that, and I hope, I hope you've managed to heal and recover from everything you've been going on through, because a lot of women, they die with these abortion processes because, they hemorrhage, they lose a lot of blood. The fetus doesn't expel all the way, or the abortionist doesn't get it out, so they enter sepsis and they die from an infection. So there's a lot of very gnarly things, and the whole, thing that really gets to me.
That's actually what happened.
Yeah.
I didn't have... Yeah. I got sick. Yeah, I got really sick.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I find really frustrating with women saying, well, you can't force me to get pregnant, or you can't force me to give birth, is that once you get pregnant, you are giving birth. It's just whether you want to give birth to a live baby or a stillbirth, because that's what abortion is going to guarantee, is that you give birth to a dead child. And sure, it could be a very underdeveloped child if you get the abortion in the first trimester. But it's still going to be a child, and you've had women who've, taken these pills, and they've basically, passed what looks like a very tiny person. They're horrified because they're not presented the truth. They're just saying, oh, it's just a clump of cells. And this is also speaks to a lot of cultural issues. We live in this very antinatalist society where family is disencouraged, which is why you don't have stuff like, what your situation where you left at a convent, or even these days, if you could just leave a kid at a fire station, and the fireman will get the child to an adoption center. That's a policy. A lot of states have laws like that, but stuff like that isn't really pushed or presented to people, or to young women, and especially with these pregnancy centers that are around that will help women with all these sorts of things. Those are demonized in favor of Planned Parenthood because they want to push the abortion industry to make money into this whole depopulation effort. But from your understanding, you think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that abortion making an election issue is fundamentally going to hurt both sides because it's just such a touchy subject, and it rarely has any sort of meaningful resolution. Is that
Yes.
Okay.
That's it. Yes, because think about it. As you said, they don't give any more alternatives. It's not like, we're generations apart, you and I. Okay? And I appreciate you, and I respect you very much because being your age, you've accomplished so much that I can see so far, and you have a very brilliant mind, and I like that. Okay. And you do understand that, it was it's a hard thing for a woman to go through, and men don't really quite understand the process. So that's why I brought up, men who are pregnant, their process, what's going to happen. Are they going to have stillbirths? Are they going to have to get, I don't want to say mandatory abortions, but as you said, what if there is a stillborn and they die? It's not right. It's not feasible even to think about something like that. But turning back to women who are afraid to even talk about abortion with their parents, and then again, you know, doing whatever they have to do, like I did when I was 18. It's not like I had to get my parents' consent, right? But it still hurt. Emotionally, it's probably the one of the worst things that you could possibly ever go through, emotionally. I mean, it did take me a good long time to get over it. But, and then again, being a believer as I am, it's against my religion. And I really don't think that it's a good thing. And
Yeah.
as far as the election goes, I don't even think, you know what, unless they bring up alternatives, like we talked about, yes, it will hurt. It will hurt the election, sure. As a woman, being an independent as I've been since I was 18, when I could vote, I've never been partisan. I've always been bipartisan, pretty much. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm the one that voted for Nader. Okay, if you remember him. Um, you know, this election, if Kennedy Jr. is running as an independent, I know he's more a Democratic independent, let's say, but he's an independent. So I have a vote now.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I went to the Porcupine Freedom Festival in New Hampshire, and RFK Jr. was a speaker there, and I actually saw him speak in person.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he's got this very raspy voice because he had a vaccine side effect as an infant, I believe, and that damaged his voice severely. And even despite that, he's a pretty good speaker. I don't think RFK is this RFK Jr. Real RFK died when before you were born. Or RFK Senior, right? But anyway, I don't think he's this. I still think he's very much a politician. He's just a lot more on the ball with things than more politicians would be. But I don't think he would be the savior. But I would much rather have him than either Trump or definitely Biden. I mean, Biden's a dementia patient. Trump's got all this baggage and all the things that he did with COVID. He can definitely be, if he has the wrong people talking in his ear, he's going to do the wrong thing. So I don't have this faith in him. I voted for him in 16 and 20, and that was mostly because everyone was saying not to, and I was like, well, screw this, fuck this, fuck you guys, I'm going to do it anyway, because it was that contrarian thing, especially when in 16 I was 18 at the time, so it was just being a rebel. That was the whole thing, and I was thinking, well, it's going to create so much chaos. It's going to blow everything apart, and then maybe we'll be able to pick up the pieces and put everything back together again. And then I realized after COVID that the state in general has no right to exist. It's based on theft and extortion, and that's why I became an anarcho-capitalist. But that's a whole other conversation for a different day. We were talking about abortion, and the interesting thing with this in general is we were talking about transgenderism. So you've got this two-pronged thing where, one, you've got men who transition to women and they want to get uterus transplants. This has never happened, and I don't think this ever will happen. There's so many reasons, and I'm actually writing a book about gender ideology. I'm going to go into why a uterus transplant makes absolutely no sense and would be absolutely fatal. But the other thing is you've got women who they want to be men. And they inject themselves with testosterone in this, pursuit of becoming a man. And some of them will actually get pregnant, or they want to become pregnant, so they get off of testosterone and then they have a kid. And they'll also get double mastectomies, have a kid, and then be like, well, I want to breastfeed my kid. So it's just a lot of unresolved mental illness. So we've got this extremely mentally ill population doing stuff like this. And it's more than, transgenderism, because most women who get abortions don't, do this to themselves. So that's not the biggest issue, but you've got a lot of mentally ill, unstable people in abusive relationships, which is why a lot of these women feel the need to get an abortion anyway, because the average, married woman in a healthy relationship wants to have kids, wants to build a family, but that's been devalued, and the people who are engaging in these sorts of things are going into hookup culture. They're using dating apps. They're in situationships. So there's no structure. There's no concrete ability to have a family in a safe environment. It's just
yes.
Yeah, you're
Society is chaos right now,
exactly.
and I totally agree with everything that you're saying. It is so hard. I mean, look, I have my sister. She's my parents' biological daughter. Okay, she's the youngest in the family. When she got pregnant, she decided she was on tramadol, but she decided to up her doses because she couldn't get pregnant with her husband. They had to do it in vitro, and they tried 3 times, and it didn't work. And as I said before, I'm being very frank with you and honest. She had an affair, and she had a baby. And the baby, because of the affair, it made her feel guilty. Her husband did accept it. They are still together. Olivia was born. I was there. She came out not breathing, and she wasn't premature, but my sister put her in the NICU for, I think it was 12 weeks, to naturally get her off of the tramadol. And to see something like that, it blew my mind. It broke my heart, because in that, in turn, is mental illness due to the fact that Olivia now is bipolar, and she's been tested. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad. And she's 14 years old, and this poor girl won't even go to school. She has a problem with going to school. She's very social, but she has no morals, no values, because of what, society, number one, and how she is being reared, not raised, reared in her family.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no. So you've got a lot of issues like that, and it's an unfortunate story. And again, maybe a little bit too personal, but it's not the most revealing information in the world. And I don't have thousands and thousands of listeners, so hopefully you're in the clear there. But yeah, a lot of you are a product of your.
I'm sorry, Ben. I really.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's more about just you and your family. So I just don't want you to feel like you're oversharing. That's not.
No. This is something that needs to be said, because people are in chaos. I talk to people every day, either on Substack or on IG, and they're, like you said, the mental illness now. I mean, people are losing their minds. I don't know where they're going. Where are they going? Where?
Yeah. So
why are they losing their minds?
Well, it's a lot of it is the internet, just giving people these extremely unrealistic expectations of society, and we're way off. We're going to transition into the next topic soon, but if you're still with us, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Substack, follow Lisa on Substack. I'll have all those links in the description below. But yeah, so part of it is the internet, and the fact that people are chronically or terminally online. Depending on how much time you spend online and how much it interferes on your life, and you're consuming all this content that gives you this extremely unrealistic view of society. So if you're on TikTok, you're scrolling through all day, and you are going through you're a young woman and you're watching content of these young women who are in relationships with millionaires, or presenting as if they're doing that. Then your idea of a healthy quote-unquote relationship is going to, the Caribbean, to Maui, to the Cayman Islands, all in a weekend, right? When that's...
Amen, brother.
Yeah, it's extremely unrealistic. And
it's very superficial.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said. And you know what? I got to jump in here for 1 second. I'm sorry. It bothers me. It bothers me to death. I am a 55-year-old woman. I don't look like I'm 55. I get that all the time. Sometimes I get carded. Sometimes, occasionally, I do. But no, speak the truth. That's why tell the truth. When I do lives on IG, there's no makeup on, there's a t-shirt on, and I'm trying to tell the truth. You know what I mean? That's the bottom line. That's what it should be used for if you are a critical thinker. Oh, okay. Now there's a whole nother topic right there, because critical thinking has gone out the window.
Yeah.
But totally agree with you with these even the fans only on IG, for example. All you're getting are, and I don't have fans only, but I get invites for fans only for sex crap. Give me a freaking break. That is not my life. That is not part of my life. I am a single woman. I enjoy this time that I have by myself, because I've been married 3 times. And, in society, I'm deemed useless, basically, because I'm already 55. I'm all used up, quote unquote, let's just say, right? And, what kind of an influencer can she be? I've helped a lot of people with a lot of things. And as you know, on Substack, if you read my comments, I don't know if you see them sometimes, I'm very truthful and matter of fact, and thank you very much, and very appreciative. That's what the internet should be. And another thing, people should have computer science classes in their elementary schools, in their high schools, only due to the fact that it does make you a critical thinker. I did, before I got into my car accident, I had 3 businesses. I had a waiter business, like if you need waiters at your house when you're having a party. And I was a chef. So I had that business. I had a graphic design business, and I was a personal trainer. I got into a car accident, and boom, I lost everything. Everything was gone in just a second. So appreciate everything that you have. And when you get out of like the anger and it's like mourning, like somebody passed away, because my whole life changed. And when you get past all that, then you become confident in the truth. I don't know if that makes any sense, but you have to be, especially now.
Oh yeah, no, totally for sure. And yeah, we live in an extremely sexualized society, and as a young man,
Over.
I've never been in a relationship. I've never really dated anybody, but at the age of 14, I started watching porn. I found this, and I have this porn addiction. I've gotten a lot better with not consuming that content and overcoming it, but you've got this natural inclination as a male to,
Yes.
spread your seed, sow your wild oats and all these sorts of things. And that's really been perverted with all this, pornography and the over-sexualization of society, and the fact that you've got not a lot, not the majority, but enough where it seems like a lot of women are doing OF, engaging in hookup culture, and you've got a lot of men who are in that environment, and they can't help, and I'm not saying that they should, but they can't help but see women as sex objects, because that's all they're seeing. That's all that's in their environment, and it trickles out negatively into society. But I think we've gone on.
Oh, very negative.
Yeah.
And just, I'm sorry, just to add, I do watch a lot of, because I am disabled, right? As we spoke before. I watch a lot of documentaries, and more do I see husbands killing their wives because of the jealousy of them being quote unquote influencers. In the meantime, they're watching porn and having affairs, so they think that the grass is greener on the other side, right? As you were talking about, basically. And they think that their woman is shit. They don't want to have a divorce because they feel bad because they have kids with this woman, and so they go and kill her. I mean, I can't begin to tell you. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of cases like this. It's disgusting.
Yeah, no.
And it's also, go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's obviously an awful thing, and a lot of that, stems from, how bad divorce is of a process, and, a lot of men get reamed through the coals in family court, and they want to avoid that, so it's more of this very narcissistic thing, and of course, it comes with this whole objectification if you don't view, women in general as people. Just, means to an end. Of course you're going to, get this idea in your head. It's more convenient to murder my wife and then try and get away with it, then man up and say, hey, I'm cutting ties with you no matter how much it hurts. Not that I think once you get married it should be a lifelong commitment. I'm not the most religious person, but I do like the Bible. I consider myself to be an agnostic theist. So one of the things the Bible says, you get married for life. You don't you don't commit infidelity. You want to have a very sexually moral relationship. When a man and a woman join in marriage, they become one flesh. That's the idea.
That's the ideology, and that's exactly right. And it also means the soul, and it also means the whole person, not just whatever. You know what I mean? And now I watch these documentaries, and I'll see them get married, right? And then they don't even say, and let no man, what is it? Let God join together and let no man take asunder. They don't say that anymore. And it's like, what? They don't even say anything. Like, it's already anticipated that they're going to get divorced or something's going to happen or blah, 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 blah. Because it's not even said anymore by the priest or the pastor or whoever. It's crazy. It's just, it's mind-blowing, and it's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, so marriage is viewed as this, dating plus, right? It's not this foundation of the man, the woman making children. That's the holy trinity of humanity: the man, the woman, and their children. And marriage is what facilitates that, and it's a very deep, meaningful, beautiful thing that's been completely done away with society, with marriage being about having a nice wedding and a honeymoon, and then trying to just basically treat your spouse transactionally. Men and women do this on either side, right? There are women who marry guys who make $500,000, and it's like, well, I want my man to make $750K because I want an extra 5 to 10K. So you've got people who are opportunistic, transactional on both sides, but we were talking about souls, right? And being human, or that comes into it when you talk about souls. So we're going to transition into the last topic. We were on a lot of tangents, but we're going to transition to the last topic of science fiction. So my first novel, Machine to Man, is a science fiction novel, and you had me watch Ghost in the Shell. That's your favorite movie, the 2017 version. So I watched that, and this is a movie about a woman who's gets basically kidnapped by a large, a robotics corporation, and then her
Hanka Robotics.
Yeah, Hanka Robotics. Her brain gets stripped out of her human body and put into a shell. So she still has her ghost, as in her soul, but it's in a artificial body. Shell. And a lot of the themes of that movie is saying that she doesn't feel like she's human. She can't necessarily vocalize it, but she doesn't feel like anything's real. She feels disconnected from everybody else, and that's because
wait, I have to interrupt you, because it's what digital bioconvergence. This is what they want in the future. I mean, they're showing you the process, because as I got sick with mold and fungus, and I know it's not off topic, because in the beginning, when you're talking about when they do the cerebral salvage, they save the brain, but not the body, right? And the soul. And they put it into this cyborg. They actually have to do it organically. If you remember in the beginning, you saw it looked like little fingers that went out and kind of joined the brain with the machine itself. That's called mycelium. I mean, that's how down and dirty I got with this movie. It's mycelium. Mycelium is the network that trees use. It's a fungi. You can eat it. It's good for you. Believe it or not, ants eat it. I mean, everybody. I don't eat it. Sorry. All of your animals eat it. It's good for you. It's very high in nutrients. But it's the network for the trees to talk to each other, because this mycelium actually goes through the earth via the ant and is left, and the frequency in the tree picks up the mycelium, and then they grow together. It's almost like a marriage, kind of, sort of. But as presented with Ghost in the Shell, and I know that you were talking about the animes, which I have not seen. I'm not really an anime fan, to be honest with you, but just the idea of this is going to be our future. I mean, people are already hacking themselves, volunteering to get eyes like Bato got, but you can't see it. It's actually an eyeball. You know what I mean? Where you could see X-ray and all this other kind of stuff. And,
Yeah.
It's science
Yeah.
fiction turning into a
Yeah.
reality.
Well, to cut you off, the more real thing is, have you heard of Neuralink?
Yes, of course, of
Yeah.
course.
They
Did they just put it in somebody, didn't they?
Yeah. So Neuralink is going out the first human subject. So if you have you basically have to be a complete quadriplegic. So ALS or ALS or a severe spinal cord injury. That's the group of people who are going through at first, because with the other ones where you're basically putting nodes or neurodes, whatever the hell they're called, electrodes. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. You're
Yes,
putting
yes.
electrodes into the brain, and the electrodes, if it was deep brain stimulation, were absolutely gigantic, and they would cause a lot of damage. The ones with Neuralink
course.
are like thinner than a human hair, and you have a robot place them in, so it's going to cause a lot less damage, rupture a lot less veins around the brain than the other methods.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay. So Neuralink, I imagined it to be a tiny box with like leads off of it. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, that's exactly
But
what it is.
okay, so if you think about it, right? Anytime you have surgery, and then, this is another subject for another day if you want. I've had 75 of them and I'm still alive. Okay. Um, Scar tissue forms. No matter what, it's a protection thing that our body does. When you think about the brain, where does it sit? It sits inside your skull. It takes a lot to go into your skull. Then you have liquid that the brain sits in, right? And your blood, right? Central nervous system sits right in the back by your neck, the beginning of it. You have your sympathetic nervous system and you have your parasympathetic nervous system. You have all these things going on, and you're actually putting something in the brain. Personally, in the long run, this is going to do more brain damage than it is going to be good. And I appreciate Elon Musk for using quadriplegics because it's a way of speaking like Stephen Hawkins, or a way of walking, or yes, it's a good thing. But to just gonna be honest, to experiment on those people and not regular people as well, I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me, because a lot of people are going to want this Neuralink. You know what I'm saying? Not
No, there are inevitably going to be a lot of issues with the first generation of this. So, they're going to try and iron out as many kinks in the first round of human subjects, and then as they do that, they're going to roll it out to more people, and they'll inevitably find out more problems, especially if you're doing it in someone who's healthy. Someone who has motor function, someone whose brain actually works, and then you do this the first time that's going to happen. There's going to be all these issues that arise, and you're going to have to try and fix it. So there's a lot of issues. Of course, now there's also this possible benefit, but with Elon Musk, his goals are Neuralink and SpaceX. He wants to create this brain-computer interface so there can be the symbiotic relationship between artificial intelligence and humans, and then use that relationship between AIs and humans to engage in interstellar colonization. I talked about it, I think it was last Tuesday's episode of this podcast. I'm pretty sure it was like Tuesday. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Tuesday's episode. So I believe that was 47 of this podcast. That's where I went into Neuralink when it was a bit more recent that this news has come out that Neuralink was on human subjects. But finally, we were talking about Ghost in the Shell in this, and talking about this. My book, Machine to Man, is about a artificial intelligence, an android that turns himself into a human being. So I do think this whole plays onto the idea of like what it takes to be human. Can you really be human if you have this melding with machines, right? So you're going to get to the point where we are pursuing transhumanism, where people want that end goal of basically putting their brain in a robot's body and then just being able to upload themselves to whatever body they feel like having that day. Are you really even
Right.
human at that point? A lot of people would say
I
no.
can't wait to read your. I can't wait to read your book. A lot of people say no.
So
Is,
yeah,
is that what you,
well, a lot
is
of
that
people,
what you?
yeah, a lot of people are going to say no. Some people might say it doesn't matter. But the whole thing is that, if when I wrote this book, Machine to Man, I first of all, it was just this interesting story that popped out to me. Because you're not an anime person, but I am. I do like anime, and I was watching this one anime, Darling in the Franxx, and it kind of plays on this idea of science fiction and what it means to be human, because it's about I forget exactly, but basically there's this, these mechs, and in order to make use the mechs, it has to be two people flying them, and you have the pistol and the stamen, and there has to be a male and a female. But the issue was with that when this was first happening. All the people were basically sterilizing themselves in exchange for immortality. And that was, yeah.
Okay, isn't that what's going on right now?
In a way, well, really,
Yeah.
I mean, people aren't immortal, but people are just basically sterilizing themselves and shirking themselves from familial responsibilities in pursuit of comfort.
Yes.
So it's a lot of like, well, I don't want to have kids or want to have a family because I don't want to have a partner and have to compromise with them or do any of these sorts of things. And I can understand that perspective, but I have family. I take care of them. I've talked about it personally, but I do caretaking for my grandfather, and that's been a very heavy toll on me. And one of the things, I'm not like going to say like, "Whoa, it's me." I have a pretty decent life, and it's only going to get better. And I'm very fortunate in my life in that I'm young, I'm healthy, I've got my whole life ahead of me, and I definitely could see myself having a family one day. But at this season of my life, I just want to be doing things on my own. So I understand that, but it also comes with a thing where you've got people who want to be by themselves, and they also want to just waste their lives away on momentary pleasure. But this whole idea of being human is what interests me, and that's why I wrote the book, because that idea was in my head, and I was running through all these story ideas, and then I eventually came up with Machine to Man. And the first draft, I got 13,000 words into that, and then I threw it away, and then I went on to the second draft, and then that was like, I don't know, a good, 3.5 years between starting that and actually finishing it. Maybe two and a half, something like that, something like that. But it was very on and off. So it was like the last, 6 months or so is when it really all came together, because this first part was really hard to read. And you said that you if you ordered a copy, I'm very appreciative. But it was a book that I really put my heart and soul into it, because it was a story that I thought was like really interesting, and I do want to write a prequel to it that is even more, I would say, relevant to this idea of Neuralink, because that's what interests me, and I think that's really what that's what's really going to usher us into the next era of technology is Neuralink, or whatever.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree 100%. Do I like it? No. Will I ever get anything like that? No. If you remember the one part in Ghost in the Shell where they're standing in the room and they're talking about Kuze, the one who was killing all of the Henkel robotic scientists. And I guess he's the general, right? The older Japanese guy. And then there was a younger Japanese inspector. And then there was a girl from England and a man from England, woman and man from England, and they were standing in the room, and he goes, "What'd you have done?" And the guy lifts up his shirt and he goes, "I just got a cybermech liver so I can drink all night and I don't even have to worry about it and I can get up the next morning."
yeah.
I don't know if you remember that part.
Oh yeah, I remember that scene. I just watched the movie, so I remember that scene.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's what yeah, sorry.
Biohacking.
Yeah.
Biohacking, and that's basically what Neuralink is. For me, is biohacking, because the book you wrote is opposite of what society is going into, and I think that is so fantastic. Like I said, I can't wait to read it. I'm so very excited. Um, because you actually are trying to say, hey, we have a human soul. And if you turn a person into machine, let's just say, right, and you try to turn it back around, will it really work? See, I didn't read your book yet, so I don't know. So don't
Yeah.
tell me your
Yeah.
answer because I don't want to know.
Yeah, no, I won't tell you. But the whole thing is that you read the book and it's a bit different. But the synopsis is a machine, something that was always a machine becoming
Okay.
human, and it's that journey. And I guess you'll ask yourself, is this main character really human? Is there a point at which he becomes human, and what makes him human? And that's the more interesting question. And the thing is that I can really only put these ideas into your head and talk about them and make you think about them, what it means to be human. Can you only be human? Is your humanity this intrinsic thing? Because
Oh man, being sorry to jump in again, and I told you I wasn't going to do this, and I did, and I apologize. But I have to. Philosophy, humanism. You know what I mean? Like the thoughts that are created. Like, you do read the Bible. You said you do. I think somewhat believe in it. For me, it's my book now in my life. Every day I read it. And I do believe it, every word of it. But again, I can't. You can't bring religion into something that is transhumanism. So having a soul, being a human, is a spectacular feat. It's very fragile. It's beautiful. It's wonderful that we have a soul and our exchange. And as human beings, right, we don't call ourselves human cyborgs. We are now human beings. And the idea is almost like, and again, I'm just going to say it, it's almost like porn. People get addicted to this stuff because they think that it's the not right thing to do, but yeah, if it helps quadriplegics, yes. If it helps people with brain injuries, sure. But limit it is what I'm trying to say. I live with 3 replacements, and I have I have a connective tissue disorder. I'm part cyborg, if you want to call it, but they're dead. It's not like I sit here and I have to press a button and my leg moves. You know what I'm saying? But it's disheartening because it's rejected constantly, or I break them constantly. I've already had 2 rounds. So being part metal is not actually fun. It hurts
oh yeah,
every day of my life.
yeah,
And
no,
it has mutated me. Honestly, it just naturally, parts of my body don't move like they did before. You know what I mean? Because I had 6 hip dislocations before I got my second hip replacement. So imagine, like, Stretch Armstrong. I don't know if you remember that doll. You could just pull it forever, and that's what they do to you. They put you under anesthesia, and then they stretch you, and then boom, put you back in. You wake up, you're in pain. Now, if I was part machine and my legs were metal, and they did that to me, would I feel pain? Would I still have that agony in my soul of why did they make me wait so long that I had to get replacements? Because if they didn't wait so long, I would be teaching right now and doing my thing. But nope,
yeah.
because there's a law stating that if you are in a car accident, a horrific car accident, you need to wait 2 years for us, the state, to deem you disabled.
Yeah, no, this is, one of the things I really dislike about the government is all this red tape and rules that they do. Try and, save
Right.
people from themselves and protect people. And I recently got into a car accident. It was a very minor fender bender. My car got totaled because I had quite of a crap box of a car, but I just had a tender neck for a couple of weeks. It didn't knock me off of my lifting schedule. So I'm very fortunate for that. I'm in great health, and I plan on staying in great health for as long as I possibly can. And when I hear, stories, like you with all your health problems, which, I hope you work through them best as you can, and, people who can't walk. I mean, my grandfather's completely bedbound. Like, he can't even stay on, he doesn't have the core strength to stay on his side while I wipe his ass. to keep him clean. Like he's lost that basic strength, and that's what drove me to get myself where I could plank for 10 minutes. Is because I saw like
Exactly.
yeah
And you know what? I just have to jump in and say I commend you. I commend you for this. You should be very, very proud because, as I said, I take care of my parents with dementia, and my sister with all of her issues. And as far as my health goes, as you are now getting into, lifting and everything like that, as you said, is the best thing in the world that anybody can do. Because let me tell you something, your muscle never forgets. I go to PT, right? I go to physical therapy because I have to. Going to a regular gym, I hurt myself. That's just the way it is because I want to load everything and, I want to be like I used to be like you. I was almost a professional bodybuilder, to be honest with you. And, it's great. And I still do it. It's funny because everybody that has knee replacements or hip replacements, they give up on life and they say, oh crap, I can't do anything. No, you can. I mean, sorry, you can. I was doing dynamic movement this morning. I was doing clean and jerks. I haven't done
yeah
clean and jerk in years. I
yeah
mean, we're talking over 30 years. You know what I mean?
yeah no
And it felt
that's great. So
great.
if you can do if you can swim, that'll be easier on your
Yes.
that's always great because that's really easier on your joints, especially
Spin.
yeah.
Spin. I use the bike.
Oh
You
yeah
know,
yeah
walking. I know it's not something up off the ground, but yes, it's called up off the ground exercise. Rowing. Rowing is awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's you only have one body, so you want to take care of it best if you can. And that's another thing that's fallen out of culturally is that people
Yes.
are so disconnected from that. I mean, you've got people, and I'm 6'1", I'm around 208 pounds, and that's a pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
pretty good weight for me. But you've got women who are like half a foot shorter than me. They've got 100 pounds on me, and they insist that it's okay. Because and part of it is you go that class of women, they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram with all these other fat acceptance, be fat positive, you can't associate health with size, yada yada sort of things, and then you run into all these health issues. And especially as these these fat activists, I'm 25, they're around my age, as they get into their 30s and their 40s, they're going to start dropping like flies because of how bad it is to have all this excess fat on your body. And this is why stuff like Neuralink, stuff like uploading your brain into a computer or an Android body is going to be so appealing to so many people, because so many people's bodies are going to be completely broken because they never bothered to take care of them. So this is
agreed.
Yeah, so this is why transhumanism is only going to get more and more relevant, because we've really fallen out of the beauty of the human form, taking care of it, destroying it. And I do think that's an intentionality part of this. Destroy what it means to be human, make not being human seem like this worthless, not valuable thing, so you can push Neuralink, push the idea of transhumanism onto the general population. So that's my
Okay.
thoughts there.
I'm gonna throw this out there. It's fake. It's superficial. I do agree with you. I see your aspect. I totally agree with that opinion. Especially for women, it's going to be horrible. They're going to be able to change their bodies and, be something that they're not. And you're right. I mean, I know people have had bariatric surgery to stay thinner, and yet they get heavier. Again, it doesn't work. It's something very neurological because as a child, I was heavy. Then I got into activities. Started playing soccer in middle school and basketball, and then into high school, and then college a little bit, and it's like I always was surrounded with sports. My sister was always surrounded with music. She got very heavy. I got very fit. And it's something I've always done all my life. I mean, it's something that never has left me, even going through these replacements. And that's what I try to tell people, nowadays with all the issues that are going on and the sickness as you're talking about, that has to do with our environment mainly, I think, and our food, and exactly what you were saying, what they eat, right? But
Oh
there are
yeah.
certain things. there are certain things in the food now and in the air. And I know this is a whole nother topic for another day, so I'm not even going to talk about it. But it does get into the body, and it does actually mutate you.
Oh yeah,
And
you got the
and
yeah. Sorry to.
and no, that's okay. But then you got the appeal of, again, interfacing with a computer and doing whatever you want. Where's the soul in that? Because growing up with art history, which we've totally thrown out, okay, another subject for another day. But look at the Romans. I'm Italian. The the woman's body, like we were talking about before, about the Ghost in the Shell, and how we both love Scarlett Johansson. Anything that she wears, tight to her body is yes. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah, so
Because
that
she's a woman.
yeah. Yeah, no, so
And
that's it's a more, natural thing, is that, women's bodies are inherently more sexually inviting than the male body, and that's okay as long as you have this healthy developed mindset about it. But a lot of a lot of people don't, and a lot of men and women don't on either side. I mean, you've got women who are younger than me who are injecting their faces with botulism and getting nose lifts and doing all these sorts of things, because
it drives me nuts.
Yeah, it drives me nuts as well. When so many people could just look beautiful if they just ate a healthy diet, drank lots of water, got enough sleep at night. But that's harder to do with how broken our food supply is, with how busy people feel like they are being made to, because of all these economic factors going on. So people have to work more. People's money isn't stretching as far as it used to. So this puts people into this corporate hustle mindset where you're working all the time. You don't have any time for yourself, so you can't focus on your health and all sorts of things. So, but I think we've been going on for about an hour. We went on so many tangents, but I think this is a great conversation. I enjoyed having you on. This was a lovely conversation. So hopefully we can do this again sometime. Hopefully, I can get, other guests on this podcast as well, because I really enjoy this conversation. I really enjoy talking to you.
Yes, you as well. And thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, it was great. So, be sure to check out my Substack, Velvet Room Publishing. I've got Machine to Man. I've got my upcoming book on gender ideology, if I can ever get myself to finish writing it. It's a very technical book, and I'm not always in the headspace to write it, but I definitely got to get onto it because it's a very relevant thing, and I've got all these things I want to write, and I got to get this project done first. But yeah, so check out my Substack. Check out Lee's alternate reality. That's her Substack. I'm sure you can find everything else she does through there. And I'm going to sign off now. If you got anything else to say, then say it now. But if not, we'll go into the outro. And I hope you enjoy this episode.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you very much. I appreciate you, and thank you for letting me be a part of your podcast. And the conversation is, like you said, it's awesome because of our age difference, and how many generations between us that we are still able to talk, woman to man, man to woman. And let me tell you something, I really do appreciate you for that, and I thank you.
No, this was a great conversation. I certainly enjoyed it. You certainly enjoyed it, and I hope the listeners enjoyed it as well. But we're signing off now. That's the end of that. All right. Thank you for being in the Velvet Room with Jokerthefool. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, whether you're listening on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, or Substack. And be sure to subscribe to my Substack, velvetroompublishing.substack.com, to keep up with Machine to Man and all my other projects.